Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping straight into the results that just came out for the 2025 UTME in Nigeria.
That's the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination.
Exactly. And it's the big one, the main gateway for nearly 2 million students trying to get into university?
Almost. Yeah.
Okay.
So understanding these results, it really gives you a crucial snapshot. It tells you a lot about, where things stand for these young people and for Nigerian education right now.
Absolutely. So our mission today, yours and mine, is to really dig into the data, go a bit deeper than the headlines.
Right. We're pulling this straight from the horse's mouth, JMP, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, mainly from their official X account and what news outlets are reporting based on that.
And the scale is just huge, isn't it? Over 1.95 million candidates took this exam.
It's massive, a
Yeah.
huge undertaking.
Okay, so let's get into the performance. The big number everyone's talking about
The one that jumps out, yeah.
is that over 1.5 million candidates scored below 200 out of 400.
That's 78.5% of everyone who actually sat the exam. The total number sitting was 1,955,069. So, yeah, a huge majority below that 200 mark.
Wow, 78.5%. So what about the other end, the really high scorers?
Tiny numbers, really.
Yeah.
Only 4,756 candidates got 320 or above. That's just 0.24%.
Less than a quarter of 1%.
Yeah. And even if you broaden that a bit to 300 and above, you're looking at 12,414 candidates in total. Still only 0.63%.
So less than 1% hitting 300. Okay. How does the rest break down?
Well, between 250 and 299, you've got about 73,500 people, roughly 3.76%.
Okay.
Then the next band, 200 to 249, that's 334,560 candidates,
Right.
around 17%.
Still less than a fifth, but this next group is the big one, isn't it?
It is the largest single chunk by far.
Wow.
160 to 199, that's where you find almost a million candidates, 983,187 to be exact.
That's 50.29%. Half the candidates are in that range.
Precisely. And, that tells you a lot about the overall distribution. It's heavily weighted towards the sort of middle-lower end.
And below that?
Below that, 140 to 159, you've got another big group, nearly 5,488,197. That's almost 25%.
So between a 140 and 199, that's what, 75% of all candidates?
Roughly, yeah. Then the numbers drop off pretty fast. 120 to 139 is just under 3%. Below 120, it's really small percentages.
Okay. So looking at all that, 78.5% below 200, what does that actually suggest about, overall readiness for university?
Well, it's a complex question. Obviously, admission standards vary, but generally speaking, scoring below 200, it makes getting into many degree programs quite difficult.
Right.
It suggests that a very large number of these young people might face significant challenges getting direct university admission, at least for the more competitive courses. They might need to look at, pre-degree programs, diplomas, other pathways.
Okay, that puts it in perspective. Now, there was also this quite interesting detail about underage candidates.
Ah, yes, that caught my eye too. JGM mentored over 40,000 candidates, 40,247, were allowed to sit the exam despite being underage.
Because of exceptional abilities, they said.
That was the term used, yes. But then you look at their scores, and only 467 of them, which is just 1.16% of that underage group, actually scored in the ranges you might typically associate with, well, exceptional performance on this kind of exam.
Only about 1%. That's quite a gap between the initial assessment and the test outcome.
It is.
Yeah.
And JMB did say these results are going for further evaluation. 3 more stages, apparently.
What do you think that means? Why the extra steps?
It's hard to say for sure, but it does make you wonder about the criteria used for identifying that exceptional ability in the first place.
Yeah.
Maybe it's based on things the UTME doesn't directly test.
Like specific talents or maybe school performance?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Perhaps the further stages involve looking at, a broader profile, not just the test score, to get a more holistic view. It certainly raises questions about the process and what those initial indicators were.
Definitely something to watch. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Irregularities, malpractice, did they report on that?
Yes, they did. It's unfortunately sort of part of the landscape with exams this large. They confirmed 97 candidates were involved in definite infractions.
Okay, 97 caught.
But, and this is a bigger number, 2,157 candidates are currently under investigation for suspected malpractices.
Over 2,000. That's quite significant.
It is. It potentially impacts the credibility if those cases aren't handled properly.
And what about technical issues, things like biometric problems? We hear about that sometimes.
Yeah, they address that too. So candidates who faced biometric challenges, fingerprint scanners not working, facial recognition failing those cases are also being investigated.
So they don't lose out because of a machine glitch.
Exactly. J&D is assured that anyone cleared of sort of any fault of their own will get rescheduled to take the exam again, which is crucial for fairness.
Good. And did they mention absences, people who just didn't show up?
They did. A surprisingly large number, actually. 71,701 registered candidates were absent.
Wow. That's a lot of people who registered but didn't sit the exam.
Yeah, understanding why would be interesting, too.
Definitely. Okay, so how does all this stack up against, say, last year? Did they give any 2024 comparisons?
They provided some key stats, yeah.
Right.
It helps add context. In 2024, just over 1.94 million registered, and about 1.9 million actually took the test. Similar numbers overall.
And the scores, how did they compare?
Well, interestingly, the percentage scoring above 300 was even lower last year, just 0.4%.
Lower than this year's 0.63%.
Yep. And the percentage scoring 200 or higher was around 24% in 2024, while those below 200 were about 76%.
Okay, so wait, 76% below 200 last year, but 78.5% below 200 this year.
That's right.
So the overall performance, judged by that benchmark at least, seems to have slightly declined.
Based on that metric, yes. It suggests the challenge of getting candidates above that 200 threshold is persistent, maybe even slightly worsening.
Any other interesting comparisons from 2024? Demographics, maybe?
They mentioned a couple of things. For the first time in 3 years, apparently, female candidates slightly outnumbered male candidates in 2024, 50.6% female.
Oh, interesting.
And there was a big jump, a 36.2% increase in registered candidates with disabilities compared to the year before. We don't have that specific breakdown for 2025 in this initial data drop, but
But those are important trends to track over time, for sure. Access and equity and all that.
absolutely, they paint a broader picture.
So looking ahead now, are all the results actually out, or are some still pending?
Some are still being processed. They specifically mention blind candidates and candidates in what they call the GEOG category.
JEOG. Any idea what that stands for?
Not explicitly defined in the source we have, but it likely relates to candidates needing special exam conditions or accommodations, perhaps learning disabilities or similar.
Got it. So those results are still to come.
Yes. And JMB is reiterating their promise of fair treatment for everyone still under investigation or waiting for rescheduled exams due to biometric issues. They also said there'll be a press briefing later this week
What's that for?
to lay out how candidates can actually check their results officially and presumably to answer questions and address any concerns from the public.
Okay, good. So let's try and wrap this up for you, our listener. What are the key things to take away from this deep dive into the 2025 UTME results?
Well, I think the headline is unavoidable. The vast majority, nearly 80%, scored below 200.
Right, a huge number.
While at the very top end, the super high scores are extremely rare, less than 1% scoring 300 or more.
And we've got these ongoing processes, investigations into malpractice, results still pending for specific groups like blind candidates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus the rescheduling for those with a legitimate biometric problem. So it's not quite a closed book yet.
But the overall picture from the released data gives you this pretty stark snapshot of academic readiness for university among this massive group of young Nigerians.
It certainly does. It shows the scale of the challenge, both for the students and for the education system.
Which leads us to a final thought, maybe something for you to ponder. Looking at these numbers, this distribution, what does it really say about the Nigerian education system leading up to this point?
Yeah, and what are the implications for the aspirations of these nearly 2 million young people? Does the system adequately prepare them? Are the pathways clear enough? Especially for those who don't hit those top scores.
Lots of questions raised by the data. Definitely plenty to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.